What's going on, MBL Network? This is the 360 Podcast, episode number 7 here on twitch.tv/MBL Network. And we are in week 12, MBL season 54, kicking off, almost kicking off the playoff talk. We'll probably be talking about that in our next episode. But we will be talking about some surprising storylines taking place in the MBL right now. And there's just some turnover as far as division winners go. It seems like we're going to have new faces as division winners at the end of this season. We'll see how it all plays out, and we have a traffic jam of teams between, what is it, Sonny, 6 to 8 wins right now?
We got like I don't know, maybe 10 teams with 6 wins right now, so it's going to be a wild finish here coming down the stretch.
Yeah, everything will probably balance out, and all this episode might be the most worthless episode. None of this might not happen. All right, let's go ahead and move forward with what we got on the docket today. I'm going to let a couple more people, of course, Project Fat's here. Have you seen Project Fat at any of our episodes live yet?
Nah, he's here to hear all the good things we have to say about him, but psych, that's not going to happen.
All right, let's go ahead and move forward. MBL 360 Podcast. I'm your host, Bomber, joined alongside Sonny. We're going to have some pretty good, pointed conversation today. Maybe we're going to get some, ruffle some feathers, maybe not. I don't know. We'll figure it out. 3 up, 3 downs on the move right now. Let's go ahead and start with our first up there, Sonny. Who are you most impressed with so far here in week 12?
Oh, God. Well, I guess I have to do it. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it. We're going to start with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I have to caveat this. For a second. Okay. This schedule may be one of the worst schedules anybody has ever played in NBL. I'm not lying. It just is a fact. But you can only play the schedule in front of you. And with that said, I don't know if people realize this. The Raiders leading NBL in total yards allowed on defense, right? So they have the best defense in the league. They're forcing the most interceptions in the league, right? Maybe it's not a mirage. Maybe this defense in Las Vegas is just coming alive. But one thing cannot be denied, right? They've got, 1 loss on the year, 2 losses on the year, something like that. I think it's just 1. They're sitting right now as the number 1 seed in a very tough AFC. And look, they're playing who they're playing, and they're beating who they're beating. And it's a wild time. I don't know. I don't know what to make of this.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. You got a sub-500 ball club playing sub-500 teams, but winning at a pretty high clip. So that alone is the impressive part right now. But I see a lot of holes in this offense, a lot of flaws that I believe are going to start getting exploited. Yeah, I think there's a big issue in Las Vegas as far as on the offensive side of the ball, especially picking up those third downs. You got a team, they're 28th passing the ball, Sonny, and 18th rushing. Have you ever seen a 9-1 team outside of the top 20 offensively in passing and rushing? I mean, their defense has been absolutely balling, but like you said, that could be a reflection of this. I don't want to call it a weak schedule, but
he reminds me of Quibble a little bit. A couple seasons ago, right, when Quibble had that really good year coming off the Super Bowl, and his defense carried him. He couldn't do anything on offense. I feel like that's where Fat's at right now. And you say, is he going to get exposed? Look at the rest of his schedule. I only see maybe 2 more losses the rest of the way. This guy may end up being, a 13, 14, 15 win team. It's crazy, but I have my doubts when he gets to the playoff. I don't know if it's going to stand up in the playoffs, but right now we have to give kudos to Fat. He's doing what he's doing, and he's getting it done.
And because there's a chance we might not talk Raiders for a long time, I'm going to go ahead and press this real quick. Week 1, New England Patriots. They're super sub 500 right now. That's a team looking forward to the draft right now. Dolphins was week 2. They're looking forward to the draft. Los Angeles Chargers, they're fighting still sub 500. They're trying to get their legs underneath them. Probably need a draft from them to bring in some young, fresh talent before they really hit that peak. New York Jets, another struggling team. Now they play the Cleveland Browns week 5. This was the first real test of the season, right? 35-17. Cleveland dominates the game. And the Cleveland's playing solid football right now. New Orleans Saints, they got a rookie quarterback. Yeah, Walker, it's not really going the way they projected. Some bumps in the road. Arizona, up and down, a team that struggles to score. They beat them by 1. The Chargers, again, division game 2017. Biggest victory they have so far is the Denver Broncos game. I think you'd agree with me here. Week 10, that was probably the most impressive still. 31-27 game. You're just not seeing the point differential that shows this 9-1 team. There's not enough, multi-score wins here against opponents that are maybe higher in the tiers of the ones we described. Like if you look at it, it's pretty much a 7-point game or less in any team that's close to 500. Now the real super sub 500s, they've been able to do some damage. Still an impressive feat nonetheless. But 9-1 Las Vegas Raiders right now, and their offenses, they're putting up 31 points per game. They're getting some from the defense. They're only allowing 19. That's a plus 12 in point differential. But passing yards, they're 28th. Rushing, they're 18th. I don't know. Maybe this team's got it. They're explosive. They're electric, and they're relying on their defense. Maybe that could bring the right mixture at the right time, and they could be a dangerous team. I'm just not buying it just yet. But hopefully, if they continue this path, I'll be eating my words later on. So let's go ahead and I guess we'll go to the down here. We just talked about the Raiders.
Yeah, we get Quibble in the chat setting us up, so I appreciate that, Quibble. So let's go dunk on Quibble real quick. So our first down of the day, we're going to look back here at the San Francisco 49ers. Quibble's already kind of setting it up. He's telling you that the downfall of his team has been the change of the playbooks. But I think something you got to think about here. His defense, though, is 29th in points allowed, right? Like, that's not a very good defense, right? His offense, 29th in points scored. Well, if you're the 29th in points allowed and you're 29th in points scored, that means you're not doing a very good job, right? That offense is bottom 5 in the league across the board. The defense can't keep people from scoring points, probably because the offense can't stay on the field. And so this is a team that's gone backwards and backwards since that magical Super Bowl run, right? Like they had that run. Yeah. We're like, hey, everything's looking great here for the 49ers. The next year they have a great regular season. They get bounced in the playoffs and we're like, okay, but they're hanging in there. And then it starts unwinding, right? Then they have to start stripping out some of that defense, as some people like to call them the Avengers. And so now here we are with a defense that can't keep people from scoring points and an offense that just can't stay on the field, which, by the way, Christian McCaffrey, we talked about before the season, Christian McCaffrey's gone, George Kittle gone, and here we are.
And I just don't understand the defensive decline. Maybe the offense is just putting them in bad situations, right, Sonny? But let's look at the talent. Aaron Donald, still there. Nick Bosa, he's there. You got Hufanga, he's there. Khalil Mack's there. Fred Warner's still there. Javon Hargrave's still there. There's just a lot of talent on this defensive side of the ball that I don't understand how you have a team that's 21st against the pass and not even top 10 against the rush with that front line. I just expect more. It's just not happening, and the offense is even worse than that. So this is a team definitely on the decline, and they're going to have to make some moves. Sonny, if you were drafting for the Niners, MBL Season 55 rookie draft, what do you think? What kind of spark do you think this team needs?
Well, they're going to have to find it in the third round because they sent their first and second away for Miles Murphy on week 1. So they don't have anything coming to help them in the draft for the most part. They're going to have to figure this thing out offensively. They're going to have to figure out how to control the ball. They need to get back to what they were doing before, right? Ball control offense, take your shots. I don't know if they've got the halfback on the team that can do that for them, but they've got to figure that out this offseason. They have got to figure out how they're going to get this ball down the field and at least give their defense a chance.
Look at this linebacker core, Sonny. Fred Warner, Miles Murphy, Lucas Van Ness, right? Those are the 3 linebackers. You even got Khalil Mack there another
The
outside
ghost of
linebacker,
Khalil
right?
Mack. Yeah, the
So
ghost of Khalil Mack.
yeah, he's obviously a watered down version of himself, watered down. But Nick Bosa, Aaron Donald, with Fred Warner, Miles Murphy, Lucas Van Ness. I mean, oh man, Hufanga, Kenny Moore.
Like we said, it's not the defense, right? Like the defense is put in bad positions. If the offense can't stay on the field, if you're always getting the ball at the 50-yard line, you're not going to stop anybody. Even when they stop them for 15 yards on a drive, they're in field goal range. And so they've got to figure out that offensive side of the ball. They've got to find an identity for them.
George Short seems to be getting most of the snaps under center. We'll keep an eye on that as Brock Purdy only played 2 games this season so far. And George Short, he's coming up really short. Short George, 13 touchdowns, 24 interceptions. And that seems to be the theme. Even as great as this defense is on paper, you can still put them in such bad positions that they're going to give you a point differential of -9. You're scoring 20, you're giving up 29. That's not going to get it done. What's number 2 here on our up? We already talked about the Raiders. Who else we got to speak of positively here on the show?
Yeah, let's look at the NFC kind of wild card for the year, and I don't mean wild card race. I mean they came out of nowhere, and that's the LA Rams, right? The Rams sitting here again as one of the top seeds in the NFC. Nobody saw this one coming. I'll kind of caveat this very similarly to Fat. If Fat had the weakest schedule ever, Sal may have the second weakest ever, which is really kind of fascinating. They both occurred in the same year, but similarly, they've got some things going for them, right? Like I look at this team. Sal's done a great job. I think that cannot be stated enough how good of a job Sal's done building this team.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. I'm thoroughly impressed here. CJ Stroud, he's not having an amazing year, but he's having an efficient year. He's getting the job done. I think the defense is giving up a ton of yards, but when it comes down to it, they're doing a pretty good job of keeping people out of the end zone, at least as not much as they need to do. And I think, look, I don't know if they're going to make a lot of noise in the playoffs, but again, kudos to Sal for playing who's in front of you and getting the job done.
And the return of Cooper Kupp's going to help out big time. He's only played 7 games so far in MBL season 54. CJ Stroud under center for them. This is a team they're a team. They're not going to have they don't have the talent, upfront talent, right? But they have solid, starting, capable players on both sides of the ball, and they're doing a pretty good job. Now, one thing that concerns me and jumps off the page here is they're 31st against the pass defensively. I know they're top 5 against the rush, but you got to be able to stop the pass at some point because you're going to ask way too much of your offense. I mean, this is offense. They're number 1 rushing team, right? But they're 31st against the pass, which makes me feel like they're dominating the rushing game. You got their opponent is going to get on this high octane, probably throwing the ball, and they're having success doing it. So when you can get a team going one-dimensional because you're the number 1 rushing attack, I'd expect your pass defense to be a little bit better than it is right now. But nonetheless, 29 points scored, only giving up 21. That's a +8 differential. And if I would have told you Raiders-Rams, that's the AFC, NFC leaders right now at the beginning of this season, you would have said what, in grid? Because I just don't see this storyline ever really coming to fruition. This just came out. It almost seemed like we avoided it too. I mean, they're 9-2. Like, we waited, and now, okay, all right, now it's time to give it its due glory here. Shout out to the Rams. They're definitely playing some quality football right now. Let's move forward. Who do we got on the 3 up, 3 down? We're on the second down here. We talked about. Who did we talk about on the down, the first one?
San Francisco.
The Niners. So who do we got on the down for the number 2?
This one hurts my soul, but we're going to talk about Joe Burrow for a second here. He is down this year, right? We talk about, the previous 2 seasons, he was in the MVP conversation. This year, we're looking at 26 TDs to 17 interceptions. I think the underrated part of this is his completion percentage is down about 5 or 6 points, usually in the 76, 77, 78 completion percentage, down to 72%. And then if you look at his yards per attempt, that's the other thing we've noticed is almost 2 yards per attempt lower than normal, but his sacks are up to 14, only 11 games played. Last year, I think he may have only had 14 or so for the year. This feels a very regressive year for Burrow. It feels like the offensive's out of whack. They've never quite figured it out, especially early in the season. So this is a little bit of a problem, right? You've got to be concerned because this Bengals team has always gone where Joe Burrow's taken them.
And I haven't tracked them this closely, Cincinnati, that is, but I'm looking at this receiving, just looking at the statistics on the receiving side of the ball. I'm seeing a lot of drops that I feel like I didn't see, throughout the previous seasons. I mean, you got 4 drops on 39 catches from Devin Duvernay, 2 drops from Jamar Chase on 69 catches. That's not bad. But you got 3 drops from Keith Yates, 2 drops from T. Higgins. It just seems like something's a little off right now. But the good thing is Cincinnati's sitting at 6-5. They're still in it, and they could turn it on at any moment. I mean, they have the talent. This is a team. Right now their point differential is low too. I mean, if you look at Cincy, 25 points scored, 23 allowed. Usually, I mean, what are we usually sitting at, Sonny? 9, 10, double-digit plus as far as point differential. It's been some close games, but sometimes those kind of games, those kind of gritty, grinded-out games, you find a way to win a couple of those, you get some momentum, you go to the playoffs, you can be dangerous. So let's move forward. Who do we got? Number 3 on the up.
Oh, God. Is Poodle here right now? Somebody can check, make sure Poodle's not in here right now.
Packers number 3.
I don't want him to come in and hear this. Yeah. So, Jordan Love. We're going to talk about Jordan Love. For as bad as Joe Burrow's been, right? We've heard Poodle and Green Bay talk about how great Jordan Love is for the last couple seasons. Well, guys, I think this may be his year, right? Like, this is the year Jordan Love looks to be the best quarterback in NBL. 79% completion percentage, right? By far the best in the league right now. 32 TDs, 7 interceptions. That ratio is insane. He is taking a lot of sacks at 19 right now, but his yards per attempt up at 13.1. Green Bay's invested a lot in their receiving core, right? They've spent a lot of draft capital there. They think they've got it where they want it. Jordan Love is finally coming into his own, and right now Jordan Love has to be your front runner for MVP.
Yeah, they're cooking. I mean, you look at Dave Sanford, you look at the rookie tight end, Christian Watson. Taylor's got 20 touchdowns already. They're number 1 in the league in points scored. They're number 1 in yards. They're number 1 in passing. They're 9 in rushing. But here's my problem with the Green Bay Packers. Let's take a little bit of a look at their previous game that they just were in. If you want to pull up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game that the Green Bay Packers just played, Love, 20 of 23, 86% completion, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jonathan Taylor, 11 carries, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns. There's 4 touchdowns right there, right? No drops from the receivers. They lose 34-28 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who had a interception turnover from Trey Lance. And the Green Bay Packers beat them in third down conversions. They were 6 of 7. So, what is the problem? Well, it's their defense. Their defense is ranked, as we all expected, 30th. 30th nearly across the board. They're 32nd in yards allowed, 32nd in passing yards, and 27th against the rush. So if you're playing against Green Bay and you can't stop them, it's going to be a shootout. How can you control the clock and make sure that you end up with a possession more than the Green Bay Packers at the end of the game? And they did it even with a turnover. So man, I just think they just played a perfect game and ended up losing. The defense is going to have to. They're going to have to get out of that 30th. They're going to have to get in the top. Top 2/3. Maybe at 20. This offense is cooking so much they'll be fine. But 30th, it just seems like that was such a weird game to see them walk away with the loss there when they really didn't do anything wrong. I mean, they were 6 of 7 on third downs, 20 of 23 passing. I like Green Bay. I like their offense. They've invested a lot in it, but they have neglected the defense. And, when you get to the playoffs and you need the defense to make a stop or at least get them off the field and give your offense some time, that could be an issue for the Green Bay Packers. Let's go ahead and
Too much time on the Packers.
Huh?
Too much time on the Packers.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move forward. So we're on the third down. Who did you like? Maybe not who did you dislike? Maybe not the worst, but they ended up making your list. Who do we got here at the third down?
I think it's a disappointment thing, right? We're going to look at the Carolina Panthers. You always call them, regular season superstars, but sitting at 6-4, obviously not those superstars this season. They've got a brutal schedule, right? Coming up, they still have Cleveland, they have Baltimore, right? They've got some really tough games coming, but I think some things looking at it that seem off to me Bryce Young, nowhere to be talked about in the MVP conversation, right? The offense looks to be struggling mightily this year. Defense, 25th in points allowed, 24th in passing, 24th in total yards, 29th in passing, 4th in rush defense, but you don't really have to run against them. You just throw the ball against them. That's all you got to do. So, I mean, there's some issues here. They are scoring. They're top 2 in points scored. But I think that's more because they end up in these shootouts because they can't stop anybody. And so defensively, there's a lot of questions happening here. And I've also got some questions about Bryce Young. He's just kind of like Burrow, not having the year we expected from the former MVP. And I'm curious with the rest of this schedule. Let's just talk about this real quick because the schedule isn't easy. You've got Cleveland, you've got Baltimore, you've got a Tampa Bay team twice. It's playing pretty good. And then you still got Pittsburgh to go this year with the Bears and the Saints sprinkled in between. Could they lose 3 more games maybe? I mean, I think they're probably making the playoffs, but, you start having a lot of questions here about what's going on with the Panthers.
Yeah, look at that points allowed. They're 25th, giving up 27 points per game. Their offense is humming at 33 points scored. But I'm with you. The defense is very reliant on getting turnovers, not necessarily getting stops, but getting turnovers. Kind of reminds me of that 2008 Saints team. That Super Bowl Saints team that was not good on paper, but they could get you a turnover and put the offense back on the field, and that seemed to be their formula for success. Here's my problem. This is what screams out to me when I look at the Carolina Panthers is I look at this game versus the Falcons week 1. That had to leave a bad taste. You get week 1, you're at home, you take a loss 38-29. You come back and you get to play Atlanta in Atlanta, you lose 27-24. I have not seen Atlanta sweep Carolina until this season. Atlanta has always been one of those sneaky, tough out teams, and they might be turning the page. As we talked about it at the beginning of this episode, there might be new division winners and new faces at the top of these divisions come the end of this season, and we'll keep you posted. But heck, 6-4, let's see who they got left on their schedule. Cleveland, you said tough. Baltimore, super tough. Tampa, they've been playing absolutely phenomenal. Tampa just had a big win over the Green Bay Packers. Chicago Bears, they've been struggling, but Tampa, again, another tough team. Saints, they haven't been playing too great, and then you finish with Pittsburgh. If everything went south, right, you could lose to Cleveland, lose to Baltimore, lose to Tampa. There's 3. Let's say you split Tampa. I'm not going to give you the other one. Then you got 4 losses with Pittsburgh. Yeah, you'd be sitting at, 9-8?
Yeah.
I got that. I'd bet everything they get in, but, just food for thought there. This could get off the rails quickly. That's going to do it for a 3 up, 3 down. What do you got left?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, the Atlanta Falcons thing is kind of an interesting thing just because they've got some weird wins on the year. They are a little bit unpredictable, so I don't want to get too down on the Falcons just because they're always our preseason darling where we think this is the year that DB is going to put it together. So maybe this is the year that DB is going to put it together.
Yeah, when I look at Atlanta, I think I see 2 different sides. It's the same thing every year. You see a team that goes, whoa, they put together a really good game. They overcame some adversity, and they straightened up when they needed to be, and they made big plays when they needed to. But then you see these collapses that they have, and in the same breath, it worries you. Single game elimination playoffs here in the MBL, so you're not getting opportunities to come back and do make rights. I don't know if they're there mentally tough enough yet, but they're definitely moving in the right direction, if not slowly but surely. We're going to move forward. Sonny Weaver's power rankings. How are we doing this one this week? We doing power rankings?
Oh, yeah, of course.
All right, we got a top 10 power rankings. What do you want to start? Top, bottom? I guess we can start at number 10.
Let's start in the middle. Let's start with number 6. Nah, just kidding. So we talked about this. This is such a crazy week for us because you've got literally 10 teams right now sitting at 6 wins. So where do you even draw the line? So I started at number 10. I'm starting with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Still a little bit of unheard of. I think they're actually at 7 wins right now. I think this Buccaneers team sneakily got a shot to win this division. They've got 2 big games coming up against the Panthers here soon. If they can win those games, this division could belong to the Bucs, and we may see the return of Trey Lance in the playoffs, something that I think will be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, this is a Bucs team that's won 3 of their last 4 games. Very dangerous right now. All right, let's move forward. Who we got at number 9?
Number 9, we're going to the AFC. We got the Denver Broncos. They've tripped up a little bit this year. They've got a couple uncharacteristic losses. Again, we mentioned the Raiders and the Rams, right? 2 of the darlings of the league have gotten wins here over the Broncos. But Other than that, they've got some solid wins. I like this Broncos team. I think they'll figure it out. Kellen Mond still having a great year. We've got the Broncos at 9.
And my problem with Denver, similar to Carolina, they have some deficiencies that need to be cleaned up immediately. But at home, their home record, this is usually one of the best home teams in the MBL. They're 2-3 right now, and their point differential is only 6. This is a team you usually see in that double digits. But now we get to witness the Raiders. They got a plus 12-point differential. Let's move forward here. We go on to number 8 here on the power rankings.
Speaking about the Carolina Panthers, we've got the Panthers at 8. What is there to say? They're not having the year we expected. Looking at their losses, though, not that bad. They obviously have the 2 losses to the Atlanta Falcons. Their other losses are to Green Bay, who's leading or one of the better teams in the NFC, and the other one to the Cincinnati Bengals, which crazy stuff does happen. So the losses aren't horrible. We'll see what happens. Like we said, 2 big games coming up here against the Bucs.
All right, let's move forward. They're kind of identical with the even statistically with the
yeah, I know.
Yeah, with the Denver Broncos. It's kind of funny. They're both
Right.
plus 6. Except Carolina's doing a little bit better job at home here, but 6-4. They're kind of similar stories, eerily similar. Actually, maybe we'll see them in the Super Bowl. Maybe that's how it'll end up working out. Let's go ahead and move forward. Who do we got at number 7 here on the power ranks?
Number 7, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. They would have been a little bit higher, but they just dropped this game to the Colts earlier today. Steelers with Patrick Mahomes, they're finding their rhythm. Mahomes definitely fueling this Pittsburgh team after leaving the Kansas City Chiefs high and dry. I like this Steelers team. I think they can be explosive. We'll see if their defense comes through for them in the playoffs, but this team's going to be one to watch.
Yeah, I like Pittsburgh as well. Even in this loss versus the Colts improved to 7-4. Pittsburgh fell from 8-2 to 8-3. You look at this Pittsburgh team, and you're noticing the turnovers at the quarterback position are starting to slowly get to some normalcy. Even in the loss versus Indianapolis today, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions for Patrick Mahomes, and that's a quiet day for him over there. You know, he's been putting up some big numbers. The only thing that concerns me is like you said, that defense, point differentials, they're 1 right now, and we played 11 games. They're plus 1. The Colts are plus 2. I mean, those are 2 teams that usually just seem. It's just a weird season right now here in NBL season 54. Let's go ahead and move forward. Who do we got at number 6?
We just talked about them, the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the Colts team's a little bit interesting because they dropped a lot of games early on that were uncharacteristic. I don't think those are indicative of skill. I think that the defending Super Bowl champions are going to get in the playoffs. They're going to have a shot to make their run again. And I think that's a team we're going to be watching. I will say Anthony Richardson, his accuracy is a little down this year. Not sure how comfortable I am with that. But this Colts team, they can get dangerous. We've seen them get hot in the playoffs. Look for them to do that again this year.
Yeah, they've won 6 of their last 7 games. They started off at a 1-3 record. But they've been humming offensively, especially during this 4-game winning streak. I mean, 34 points, 45 points, 35 points, 31 points. They're putting points on the board. Green Bay was the last team to hold them under 30 since week 4. So that's something to keep an eye on. It looks like Indianapolis might be finding their rhythm here late as we are in week 12 here in NBL season 54. Let's go ahead and move forward. What are we on, number 5 right now?
We are on number 5. Yes. So we're going to have the LA Rams, right? We talked about it. A little bit of an easy schedule. They've done what they've needed to do. They're sitting at the top here, looking good in the NFC. They've got a pretty easy schedule down the backstretch. I think we're looking at a top 2 seed here in the NFC. I'm not sure, though, I can trust them when they get to the playoffs. That's why I have them here at number 5.
They're doing everything. It's not always what you see on paper. It's how you produce on the field. And the Rams have kind of been that darling where you don't see a ton of talent just bursting off when you look at this, the depth chart. Check out this roster. You statistically look around. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. They're playing together. They're playing as a unit, and that's why they're winning 82% of their games right now. And they got a plus 8 point differential on the board. They're scoring 29. They're only allowing 21. And they're good at home and on the road, which makes them even more dangerous heading into the playoffs. They're 4-1 at home, 5-1 at home, and 4-1 on the road. Let's move to number 4.
Number 4, we've got the Baltimore Ravens, but I say this kind of hesitantly. We've not seen them play great here down the stretch. They're 1-3 in their last 4 games. I just have some questions here. Obviously, they just dropped one to the Falcons earlier today. They have the Panthers next week. Their schedule down the stretch is tough. Browns, Bengals, Saints, Browns, Bengals. That's a lot of division games, right? And you've got a Baltimore team that is not playing their best football that we've seen so far. And so we will see how it goes. I've got them at number 4 right now, but this is going to be a really grueling test for them here of these next 6 games.
And this is the team that started off on a 7-game winning streak, absolutely hot. I think they peaked week 5 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They scored 56 points. It was 56-28. They followed up in Tennessee, in Nashville, 36-15 win. Then they played Pittsburgh again, 42-0. Now, what happened after week 7? A loss to Denver, a loss to Houston, and Houston's not been playing well this season. They end up beating the New York Giants. Now they lose to the Atlanta Falcons. They got a big game in week 13. Hopefully we can get that on some kind of show here on the MBL Network versus the Carolina Panthers. That's a gut check for both of those teams. This is kind of like a must win. Where are we at right now? If you're looking for any type of rhythm down the stretch, that's the game. If you're Carolina or you're Baltimore, you're looking, okay, week 13, this is it. This is when we start turning this around and getting our legs back and getting back to playing our brand of football. Where are we at now? Number what?
We're on number 3. So we're going up to the NFC North, and we're going to talk about the Detroit Lions.
Overrated.
Lions, they've got some bad losses this year.
Did you just do this?
Maybe
You're
a
trying
little
to get
bit.
heat on me.
Nah, maybe a little bit overrated. I'm not going to lie, right?
I don't
this
think
team,
3,
they've got some bad losses. I'm not going to lie. They lost to the Panthers. They lost to the Packers. They lost to the Falcons, right? So basically, you could argue that they're really like the 3rd or 4th best in the division. My only thought here, right, looking at the backside of their schedule, not too difficult of a schedule down the stretch. I think they're going to set themselves up. I've got faith in the playoffs here of this team. As much as you can with any NFC North team, because they all lose in the playoffs. But you guys at least are going to get there. You may even match up against the Green Bay Packers and play them in the first round. Who knows? So I like this team. I think they can win. Yeah,
how does that work?
You guys could tie. That's not even possible. But you guys could try it, right?
Yeah.
But no, I like the Lions team. I have some faith that I think this is going to come together here at the end, and DB coming in with the overrated.
Yeah, quick
Falcons
note on the
top.
Detroit Lions. The first half of this season leads at half. Leads at half. Disappointing second halves. Been turning that around in this 4-game winning streak. Trying to get something back. Obviously, it hasn't been the same level of talent teams that the Lions have been playing, but that second half woes, it hurt them. I mean, you had a lead versus the Carolina Panthers going into halftime. Had a lead versus the Atlanta Falcons going into halftime, and to blow those games, and they were blown wide open, was a little demoralizing. So let's see the bounce back, see what happens. Who do we got here at number 2? Because I'm kind of thinking you might have the Green Bay Packers at 1.
This is kind of tough. So at number 2, I'm going to talk about the Las Vegas Raiders, right? Again, like the Rams, they're beating the people they're supposed to. Their defense, one of the best defenses in NBL. They've got the most interceptions of any team in NBL. Their defense is performing admirably right now. I think the offense, we've still got a ton of question marks there. Can this offense score in the playoffs? We're not sure, but you got to give them props for what they've done. I've got the Las Vegas Raiders sitting here at number 2.
Yeah, they got wins against Denver. They swept the Los Angeles Chargers. Have yet to play Kansas City. Yeah, those 2 games are coming up. Then they got Denver at the end. But that's the one thing. As bad as the offense, I believe, I mean, I just don't really believe in them, man, to be honest. But they're starting to get convincing wins over their divisional opponents. That's showing me that they're kind of figuring things out. When you see a team start taking that step inside their division, it's going to start reflecting outside of their division. And with the schedule they got this season, how could it not, right? I mean, that's the cakewalk over and over there for the Las Vegas Raiders. If this was ever the season to see this miracle run happen, it would be MBL season 54. And who do we got at number 1?
Chat, make sure Poodle's not in here. I am going to say 2 nice things about Poodle on the same show. the first time ever I've said one nice thing, but I'm going to do two. Just get it out of my system. I've got the Green Bay Packers at number 1 overall. Now, look, hear me out. They've got the best player in NBL right now. Jordan Love is the best player in NBL. I will admit that. I can do that. We don't have to. Yes, you're right, because we don't have to, but I'm going to do it. His 2 losses, right? He took a bad loss to the Jets. He took a bad loss to the Vikings early on in the year. Other than that, they've been pretty strong. He does have a loss to the Buccaneers recently, who I think the Buccaneers are surging. I really do like the Buccaneers team. But then you look at the rest of their schedule, Dolphins, Saints, Vikings, Lions, Bills. He could sweep that whole slate of games right there. I just think right now the Green Bay Packers are playing pretty good. They're going to have a shot. Now, we talked about it jokingly with the Lions, but it's kind of true. This NFC North, I don't know if they've got to win in the whole playoffs, right? In 3 seasons or 4 seasons, maybe
don't.
1.
You know that they don't. We don't.
Well, okay, they don't.
You do know that we don't,
so
that's one thing you do know.
I do.
Pretty sure, yeah.
I did know that. Sorry. But look, the Packers, you give them props for what they're doing. They've got some solid wins here. I like what they're doing. They've taken a lot of crap for what they've done drafting. Taking a tight end number 1 was still the wrong call, but at least it's working out for them. So shout out to Poodle.
Yeah, if you're going to beat Green Bay, here's the formula. You got to score over 30, right? You got to get over 30, and you got to get that last possession. That seems to be the formula for success. I mean, the Jets beat them 32-31. The Vikings beat them 37-31. Tampa just defeated them 34-28. And if they're getting dubs, they're scoring mid to upper 30s to 40s. I mean, this is just a high-octane offense. You're going to have to chase those points. But the good thing is you're able to put points up on a team that has one of the worst defenses in the league. So, yeah, they're going to run down and score real quick, but you can come down and get points of your own. So it could be a back-and-forth battle. First one to make a mistake, and that's where we're going to see Jordan Love. If his growth that we're seeing in the regular season transfers to the playoffs, we're going to see it very shortly. We're going to see it very shortly because it's going to be those games. The defense is going to give up those points, and he's going to have to not make that mistake, and he's going to have to manage the clock a little bit better. So Green Bay number 1. Let's go ahead and move forward. We're going to go to the after show now. And let's go ahead and start it off. I got a couple rapid fire. You guys can get your questions off in the chat. We'll probably read 2-3 of them, discuss them a little bit here. I'm going to play a little devil's advocate with Sonny and see, well, we know he's paying attention. He's following along here. All right, we're going to take it back to the MBL Season 54 rookie draft. You got the Packers sitting at number 1 right now on the power rankings. This is week 12, right? You go back to the draft right now. You're in charge of who they're going to select. You're the GM here. You still take that tight end because you got him ranked number 1 right now. You're believing in this team. But the defense is sitting just as we thought.
No, I'm not taking the tight end. Give me Ivory, the cornerback that went to the Raiders, right? The guy's a stud. He's literally the reason right now that the Raiders are leading NBL and INTs. I love that guy. I think he was amazing. You pair him with Joey Porter Jr., you have a great tandem there. I would have loved that pick for him.
That's Junior Ivy, for those that don't know. And we'll get him on the screen right now. He was the 18th pick out of Boston College, BOCO. And he's a 22-year-old, 6'1", 189 stud. He's going to be a lockdown corner. He's going to be dangerous, man. And yeah, I don't know if I want to see some pass rushing there, and they do have some talent. They just haven't really been getting home. But man, yeah, another guy that can create some turnovers for you defensively. That might be the answer. All right, here, I'm going to hit you with another one here. Minnesota Vikings got off to a hot start. They're running the 2 tight end set. They think they're the New England Patriots. They think this is 2008. They got T.J. Hawkinson. And, you know, that old guy, Kittle he used to be on the Niners. What's wrong with Minnesota? Why are they struggling so bad? They bring in this tight end. It's supposed to sure it out. They're 20th passing. What's going on?
Well, Tally's still holding the stick, so that's what's going on.
With a vice grip. He's got a vice grip on those
Tell him
sticks.
pass that controller. Tell him pass that controller. It'd get a lot better.
A lot of talent on that team, and they got off to a pretty good start. A win versus the Green Bay Packers, and man, a tough loss, and especially this Week 11 loss. Miami Dolphins, 24-20, 4-point loss to the Dolphins. Ugh. Shout out to you, Tally, though. Nothing but respect and love. Let's go ahead and move forward to see what questions we got in the chat. What do we got? Let's talk about big free agent signings and how they are doing now. Impact Chris Jones in Kansas City, Kittle in Minnesota. We were talking about that. Joey Bosa in New England, nothing. Debo. And Debo is the curse, right? What team is Debo on right now? Carolina, right?
Yeah, Debo ended up going to
Debo
Carolina
went to Pittsburgh, and it really didn't do much. Kind of made a big splash to get him. He just kind of like a not really affecting the bottom line, as they say, right? He's not bringing you dubs, and he's not doing it in Carolina either. Watt back in Pittsburgh. I haven't followed that closely. Let me go ahead and pull up the statistics on Watt in Pittsburgh. You know anything about TJ Watt? Has he been getting home at all?
Defense doesn't exist in Pittsburgh. I thought we already talked about that.
That's true.
Yeah, no, I mean, Watt's not getting home, right? He never did. He never does. Poor lip. He just keeps paying him and keep getting screwed by him. 5 sacks. I mean, I guess he's doing as well as Micah Parsons is, for that matter. But look, when you go look at like some of these other free agency additions, Chris Jones not really doing a whole lot in Oakland, not Casey Oakland there. I don't know. The free agency class really just hasn't been that impactful. I think if you look across there, Christian McCaffrey is kind of, I think, like maybe 15th in rushing, something like that. Kittle, we talked about that. He got hurt in Minnesota. He was, helpful there, but he got hurt. Slay's been getting burned. That's one that I think is, if JB could do that one over again, I think he would change his mind on that one, because I've seen Darius Slay give up 2 or 3 game winners.
Yeah,
that guy,
and Slay
he's
has
getting
actually
beat.
been more effective stripping the ball from these receivers than actually covering them. Maybe he's got a lot of practice, been getting beat, a lot of catches given up. Did you see the Zay Flowers contract, Sonny? What are your thoughts on that? It was a 7-year deal, I believe, worth about $235.
Yeah, I think it makes him the highest paid wide receiver in MBL by far, right?
And he doesn't lead his team in receptions. He doesn't lead his team in yards, and he doesn't lead his team in touchdowns. But hey, I'm not going to say that. This is a team that's won 2 Super Bowls. They got the formula. They know what it takes. But, man, that's a massive amount of money.
He leads his team in spirit and soul. And I don't know. I got nothing. Look, it's a lot. It's a big contract. What can you say? It's a big freaking contract. In fact, $40 million more salary than the next closest, Justin Jefferson. Slightly less bonus overall. He's paying him about $30 million more total over the life of the contract than Justin Jefferson. The next contract below that, though, I mean, actually, when you start looking at wide receiver contracts, there's no one even in the same stratosphere as Zay Jones right now. Yeah. Zay Jones is basically getting paid, I think, like what CJ Stroud may be getting paid out in LA, right? Like, you're paying Zay Jones like a quarterback right now, which is kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of crazy. Like, you can't let him leave, right? Maybe I would have just played the tag game with him a little bit, but I get it, you can't let him leave. But this one is this one's kind of crazy.
Oh man, I had something I was gonna say. It slipped my mind right now. What was I gonna say? Oh, someone needs to get on Coog's account and restructure that. Keep restructuring it so it all goes guaranteed. Just because I want to see the penalty, the cut penalty, be $200 million.
Well, it's right now it's $102 million, so he's got a lot of room to go there.
All right, what do we else we got in the chat? Anything else? Anybody say anything else? I had him go and pick Kenny Pickett to be in off season. Kenny Pickett to be in off season. 2 Pats. Jeez, Reezy. I don't care about Kenny Pickett.
We got time for that. But Brock Purdy's also going to be on the move in the offseason, I think, Purdy's getting beat out by Short out in San Francisco. So you got one noodle arm quarterback in Kenny Pickett. You got another noodle arm quarterback in Brock Purdy. Could be interesting.
Yeah, we keep an eye on that. The only difference is, no, they actually both haven't had much success. Well, no, did the Niners make it to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
When they loaded up on the defensive line?
Yeah, they did. I'm pulling up quarterback contracts real quick. I'm just curious, just out of curiosity, how many quarterbacks Zay Flowers is paid higher than?
We're gonna do that
right
at the
now,
end, Quibble. The rookie class. Like go back and reflect on some of the, draft, and maybe we'll do some type of top 10. I don't want to say drafters, top 10 scouting. I don't know, something like that. As far as teams go.
I got a fun one for you, Bomber. Bryce Young and Zay Flowers are basically making the same thing. That's wild. Your boy, Jared Goff, is making less than Zay Flowers. Justin Fields, less than Zay Flowers. Deshaun Watson, less than Zay Flowers. Josh
Lamar's
Allen
getting paid.
Josh Allen, less than Zay Flowers. So kind of an interesting. Oh, here's one. Lamar Jackson, less than Zay Flowers.
Wow.
Wild times.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to look at these contracts so far. So you got 117 guaranteed to Zay, 108 still guaranteed to Lamar, 95 guaranteed to Mark Andrews, Trenton Simpson, he's got 51 guaranteed, Roquan Smith 32 million guaranteed, Rashad Bateman 30 million guaranteed. I think just a lot of top-heavy contracts right now. Any final words here after show? If you guys got any more questions, man, save them for the next show. Come up with something good where we can dive into something that we haven't really talked about. That'd be nice.
The anti-RC.
Yeah, I think Cougs' secondary got some good deals on them, or they're still on their rookie
it's worth protecting.
Contract.
Tech
But
coverage to your USAA renter's insurance and help protect your electronics from accidents.
I don't think we have enough time for the Zay
Zay
Flowers to really affect too much, maybe. So what's his salary going to be at the end? That's what I want. That's the last thing before we get out of here. Zay Flowers, what's his last year salary? Let's see.
Makes for great radio.
Can't find it. Cougs, you know it?
Well, there you go. Oh, I've got it here. Give me 1 second. He will be making. It's not his last year, actually. He goes up to $37 million next year, 38th year after. He tops out at $45 million in about 5 seasons.
Oh, and then the last year's what, 22 or something?
27, yeah.
So he's got a quarterback contract.
Basically.
Backloaded with the opportunity to get rid of him a year earlier or renegotiate something, with that last year being low, maybe even a couple years prior. Well, hey, congratulations to Zay Flowers. You didn't have to lead your team in receptions, yards, or touchdowns, and you got paid big dog money. We'll see how it pays off, because I'm going to be hypercritical of this if Zay doesn't produce. But once again, we're tiptoeing around these Ravens. They already got 2 Super Bowls here in this Madden 24 cycle, so not much we can say around these parts. Sonny, any final words here on MBL 360 podcast? This was episode number 7 or 8, something like that. It'll be uploaded to YouTube, as all of our other content is archived on that YouTube channel. Everything's up to date and current. Final words, Sonny. Lead us out of here.
Don't lose first round.
Well, if we play the Packers, man, then one of us. That's probably our only chance to get to that next round.
God.
All right, we're out of here, guys. Enjoy your rest of the day. We'll see you tomorrow for MBL Live, and I think we have a pretty good game coming up. Might actually be Raiders again. But for myself and Sonny, we're out of here. See you next time here on the MBL Network.